Yes. Welcome, welcome. We are on our class or our session on the crown chakra. So the crown chakra is called Saharara. So it's kind of a weird thing. I always feel like I'm always saying it wrong. And then I look at it again and it's like Saharara. Um, and basically, when it comes to our crown chakra, when we're like up here in this energy, this is a very, very subtle energy. So, what I want to talk about is like we started out by building from the ground up. So, it's really important that when you start to get into this crown area, you consider how grounded you are. Because a lot of us live in our heads. And that's not the energy that I'm talking about, right? Like a lot of us can kind of relate to having um, our thoughts swirl around and like having, things pop into our head and having our thoughts run away from ourselves sometimes. But this crown chakra, this area, is really a melding of the information that you take in here in this plane or this dimension or whatever we want to call it, and somewhere else. And when I think about the somewhere else, I think about, like, I try not to think about all these different places that people talk about, like, oh, it's, this other whatever. It's like, it's just another place where either parts of my soul reside or my connection to God sort of resides. It's like another place where I'm connected. And so when we come to this chakra, and we come to this energy of the chakra, we're taking the information that we have here, and we're taking the information that we have here, and it's coming together so that you have more connection, more awareness, so that you can operate almost in both places. And so for some of us, it's hard to get to this place because we have to allow ourselves to be in a place of more surrender and let go. So some of you may feel like this practice tonight feels really good and really easy and lots of fun and, like, I don't know, easy maybe. And some of you might be like, I don't even get it. And I just want to tell you that it's all right. Like, it's all right and it's all right. Because if you're not there yet, you're not there yet, and it's totally okay. But for our practice tonight, and sort of the goal over the next couple, like the next month or so, because we have a couple more sessions left, is that I want you to allow yourself to feel connected to that thing that is more than you, right? It's within you, but it's all around you. And when you are at a place where you've started to feel really grounded, the information flows into you. And so if you've built a foundation, when that information flows in, you don't either ignore it, you don't, not, sometimes it's like, it's not even an awareness, like it came in, but you didn't do anything with it. Or if you get the information, you could be like, well, no, of course I can't follow that part because that's irrational or that's crazy, or people would think I was weird, right? Like there's too much going on for you to take in maybe that information, right? So building from the floor up, so to speak, with these chakras brings you to a place where you can be really solid in the fact that the information is coming in and you can trust it, right? So that's what we've been working towards. Now, this doesn't, again, it doesn't mean if you're not able to feel really comfortable or confident that you're getting information coming in and that you're able to listen to it, whatever that means. Because some of you will hear words, some of you will see words, some of you will just know stuff, right? Some of you have worked with me in intuition stuff. But it's okay. So I don't want you to overthink this. I want you to sort of allow yourself to just be. So the practice that we're doing today is really just that. It's just allowing you to be with yourself and just see how it goes. Now, when you're in a place where you're focused on this chakra, like this chakra is what helps you figure out your purpose and your dharma. So your dharma in this lifetime is like, what are you meant to do here? And it may be what you're meant to do just as yourself, and it may be what you're meant to do in the world. And the thing about your purpose in life and your dharma is that if we think about what our purpose is, a lot of us put a lot of bearing on it as though it's, like, is it a career, or is it, is this thing that people could mm, appreciate or respect, or right? It almost becomes about what other people might think about your purpose. And what I want to tell you is that when you figure out what your purpose is, and you probably all already know, it could be literally something as simple as like, I'm just supposed to be here to love myself and to share love with others. It doesn't always feel exciting, but the seventh chakra is what helps you understand what your purpose is here. It's when you get to that place where you feel grounded in this information that you can work with it, you can expand it, you can understand it more deeply, you can take it to another level. It's less surface. But with this understanding, because I think so many of us on this journey, so many of us in this container, we're pretty well driven people. Like, we're driven people, and as driven people, we want to prove ourselves, right? A lot of us have, old wounds of being enough. And so we think like, if our purpose is big enough or fancy enough, or I don't know, we don't always think it that way, but like, that's sort of lurking under the surface. So what I want you to understand is, over the course of this evening, if you get some information, some of it might seem a little benign, but that doesn't make it actually less potent and exciting. It's just that you might need to spend a little time with it and owning that it's like really cool. So I'm going to give you one little example of it before we start moving into this practice. So for example, like, my purpose, I've decided, is my purpose is just helping people know that being them is okay. Like, being them is enough. And for a long time, like, I kind of knew that, but it didn't seem, it's like, no, it's got to be like, obviously it's got to be something more, or something different, or something a little bit more interesting or exciting or whatever. And when I finally allowed myself to be like, oh, wait, that's enough. The whole purposes of it's enough. Like, oh, and settled into it and sank into it, it really resonated. And it was like, well, that's already what I'm doing when I'm working with people, right? I just felt like, if it's your purpose, it's supposed to be this big deal. But it's not always going to feel like that. And I want you to understand that that's okay, right? And you might think that your purpose is one thing. You might already feel like, oh, of course I know what my purpose is, and it's this. And you might find that you're starting to, something else new is cropping up, and you're like, is that it? That doesn't feel right. I haven't been doing that. So just allow yourself to be open-minded with what the information is, and being, again, back to this idea of being a detective, and what is the information that is being shared with you? What is it really about? Because sometimes, like, at the surface, it doesn't make as much sense. Okay. And yeah, when we think about this idea of the crown chakra and using the crown chakra and getting into this sort of information, this energy, this awareness, I want you to think about what's in your heart. What's in your heart that wants to be shared with the world, that wants other people to know, that wants you to know. And that is kind of you allowing yourself to really understand your purpose. So if you're always coming back to, and again, I'll just use myself as that example, like, if I'm always coming back to, I just want people to realize, like, they're the coolest, and they don't need to prove anything. Like, they can just be awesome just because, like, there's nothing else they need to do. If that's what I just keep coming back to, that might be my purpose. And ultimately, for myself, I just need to know I'm enough just being here, just showing up. So my purpose is for me, and my purpose is for others, right? And some people will have a purpose that, you know, Maybe it seems more external than internal, but usually there's a dual purpose, right? Like for yourself and for others. Okay, so when it comes to the seventh chakra, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that come up and might be keeping someone stuck in the seventh chakra area. Judgment. If you feel like you are judging yourself or judging others, that would mean that you have a block in this area, right? If you're feeling disconnected, which so many of us are, especially these days, but if there's a disconnectedness, there's probably a block in this chakra in some form or fashion. So a feeling of disconnectedness or a lack of connection with nature or a higher power. I had an awesome conversation with a potential client who's really interested in cultivating their spirituality. But one of their blocks was just that their parents and their family just keep telling them like the way that they experience the world is wrong and who they are is essentially wrong. And, you know, if they can't believe in the Lord Savior Jesus Christ, then they're wrong, you know. And when you have that disconnection from a higher power, it can feel really hard, right? I'm sure some of you have felt that yourself. And so allowing yourself, when you're connecting to this energy, you are connecting to something bigger than yourself, but you're still a part of it, right? So this whole idea of journey to the self is that you are a part of the divine. You really are. But then there's also this piece of your divine connection where it's, you know, it's like a homing device, right? It's like, oh, right, I can look to this piece and it can support me. It can help me. I don't have to have all the answers. They're somewhere else. So that's part of what the seventh chakra is about. It's located at the top of our head and it dictates thought. So the element kind of, or the energy is this thought energy. And when you're the psychological state is bliss. So when you're in a really good place and you're feeling really open in the seventh chakra, when you're feeling really open within who you are and you're feeling in a really good state of mind, it's very blissful, right? There's just a lot of good things going on, and it can impact your central nervous system. And so some of us, again, this time of year, and I've heard a lot about it over the last couple of weeks with some potential clients, is the depression, the heaviness of this time of year, the darkness of this time of year, and alienation, confusion, boredom, apathy, and even an inability to learn. It's like we become kind of closed off. So this chakra, if you think about this closed off or this disconnected depression, heavy feeling, you can imagine if you do not feel connected to something greater than yourself that you can put any trust or connection to, you're going to feel very isolated and alone. So allowing yourself to connect to something that makes sense for you, like you might have to build an entire relationship to this energy, right? Because some of us grew up like, this is what spirituality looks like. And so as you move yourself through the chakras, as you move yourself through the spiritual awakening and connection, it's like, what do I believe? And creating a relationship with that which works for you. Because it's enough, I promise you. The energy is just there. It wants to interact with you. It wants you to feel really safe and connected and to know that there's just a lot of power in it, and it doesn't have to look a certain way. And I say that with so much confidence because for years and years and years, I was looking for, I almost converted to Judaism because I was like, I could just be a Jew. I don't really need to actually have any beliefs about Judaism, but at least I'm something and I can like be part of a community. There were so many different types of religions that I looked to trying to find answers. And when I realized like, it's enough for me to know that I feel connected to something and I talk to that something and that I feel surrounded by that energy and it feels really good and I'm a good person and I try my best, like it was enough. So I just want you to, if you don't feel like you fully know what that is yet, leave the door open for it to come in, right? So it's like, I know that I feel this higher power, and I can imagine that the higher power, this energy, this spirit, this universal energy, whatever you want to call it, like it would feel like total and utter love. And I would feel completely full. And I would feel like I was enough. And I was, like all of those pieces, right? So when we're talking about getting into this energy of the seventh chakra, I want you to start to imagine what this connection is that you have to this energy and how it would fuel you so that you can feel like you're creating a relationship that really is beneficial to you, that feels really good. And that doesn't need to be validated by anyone else, right? You don't have to hate on anybody else's method on connecting to the universe or to Jesus or to God or to Allah or whomever, or Buddha. All of these things are just methods for them to connect. Some people, they can just relate to that and it just works. If yours is a little different, let that be okay. So, good. There is no sound. A lot of our chakras, we had certain sounds, like we had lam, vam, we had rum. And when you get to this level, there's no sound because, like, in fact, like deafening, no sound is sound, right? So it's just like you are encompassed by everything and nothing at the same time.